What's going on, guys? This is Kaishro. Welcome back. So for our video today, we're going to cover another OCG metagame tier list. As usual, it was posted by Rai_10y and was posted and shared by ESDR's Facebook page. So thanks to them for providing quality OCG content. So this tier list was made by 5 tiers, S, A, B, C, D, and it is the metagame that have shaped after the introduction of DBVS, or the Deck Build Valiant Smashers, that was introduced in our OCG last Saturday on the 4th week of August. So this is very interesting to see how the format have adjusted and shaped after that box, especially it introduced some really powerful archetype on the game. We have Centurion here on this tier list already, because this is a very powerful and potent deck that is introduced to us by DBVS. And also we do have a lot of good decks here to discuss. So we will start at the bottom. We have D tier. At first we have Matmech. So Matmech is a really good mid-range deck. It can sport a lot of hand traps to answer the majority of the meta decks here on the format. It can answer a lot of matchups because it can play 10 to 12 to 15 to 18 hand traps. It can really be a hand trap deck that can suffocate most of the decks here, and the deck can be also decent when going first. It can set up the Super Factorial, that is an interruption as well, and has negations with the Aggregator on the opponent's turn with the Terahertz Dragon and the Worm Fusion monster, Cyber's monster on their graveyard. So I think this deck can go first. This can go second as well, with the Update Jammer and Access Code combo that can push for damage and go for OTK most of the time. So I think it's one of the most good traits of Matmech that is able to go first and go second, and that's one of the attributes of a good deck. You can be comfortable losing the die roll because you know that your deck can really go second and can OTK easily. So I think it's fairly decent to say that Matmech is a D tier deck. And next we have Mekanko. So last Monday, we had a tournament on Kaido Will's Tabletop community, and we do have a Mekanko player on that tournament, and he is not having side deck cards. So he doesn't have side deck cards. He has 0 side deck cards using the Mekanko deck, and he still managed to go first place on that tournament. So it really made me think how Mekanko is that good, because he doesn't even have side deck to begin with, and he is not afraid of losing the die roll as well, and he can go first with Mekanko and he can go second as well. So I think the deck is very versatile. Imagine he doesn't have any side deck and he still top that tournament with other meta relevant decks. We have Centurion on that tournament. We do have Tearlaments. So I think it's really astonishing to see how Mekanko is good, because at first we do thought that Mekanko is a garbage deck. Nobody have expected Mekanko to be this good from their release back then on Amazing Defenders. Mekanko is really not that popular or not that hype to be one of the best decks on the future formats. So yeah, I think Mekanko really exceeded the expectations of many people with the deck. So I think I really rate Mekanko as a D tier meta deck here, because the deck is fairly good balanced as well. It is a sign of a good deck creation and archetype creation from Konami, because it is a deck that is kinda strong and competent, but it is not overly broken or overly unfair. So yeah, I will give props to Mekanko here. So at D we have Mekanko, and then next we have the Earth good stuff, the Adamantipator, Vernusylph, Ishizu, those Earth pile decks. So yeah, it is one of the better combo decks. I think it's one of the most powerful decks that can really create a very strong end board. So it can really dominate games when it can go first and it can set up their board. But I do think that Maxi is a very terrible card against this deck. I think Maxi can really make the things hard for this deck to be able to compete against this powerful meta on this August 2023, last week of August. So I think the deck is still fairly popular on China and Hong Kong and Taiwan. There's a lot of players that are playing this deck. But other than that, on sea regions, we have Philippines, we have Indonesia, we have Thailand, we have Malaysia, and as well as on Japan. I don't see this deck topping on a regular basis. So yeah, I think it's just very good to see here at D tier, because it is a very capable combo deck, but not that really high, because they have just lost some copies of Black Dragon, and also the Super Heavy Samurai engine got weaker by the ban list, from the ban list. So yeah, I think this deck is still capable, very strong combo deck, but it's not that high on this metagame tier list due to the implications on going against Maxi. So yeah, I think it's just right for the deck to be on D tier. And then next we have C tier. We have the Pendulum Magician, the Odd Eyes Supreme King performable deck of Pendulum Magician. This deck got better as well from the Agov, because it had support from the latest set of Agov, and I think it's one of the key contributors to how this deck are topping lately. I think it really gave some huge healing boost to the deck, and the deck is even better than ever. I think it's one of the better combo decks to play on the format. It can really set up a huge board like the Adamant Spater or good stuff. It can really overwhelm a lot of decks on the format when going first. And the problem is still the same with Maxi and Droll and Lockbird, but Droll and Lockbird is kinda losing in popularity, on contrary of the other hand traps like Nibiru and Ghost Mourner and Ghost Ogre. Many players are ditching the Droll and Lockbird. So I think this deck can really be very comfortable when players are not siding Droll and Lockbird against this deck. But yeah, Nibiru is still on the format. It is very relevant. So I think that's the side deck card that this deck is going to struggle against. But nonetheless, I think this is a very powerful deck when going first. And it can also break boards, and can set up also floodgate monsters like Dweller, that is insanely strong on the format. And even though they don't have the enough board, they can just settle with Baguska Pass to survive the turn. So I think this is a really good deck. So yeah, it's exciting to see how this deck will do on the following weeks, on the next month of our July format. So next we have Invoke Dogmatika Sinful Spoils. So I think it's about time to recognize and consider this deck as one of the top tier decks on the format, because the win condition is really legitimate when you don't have outs to win the, and especially that's the case most of the time. That's the case, you don't have outs to win the on this deck, because this deck can easily bring out Winda using the Dogmatika engine with the 3 Nadir Servants going back to 3 on the previous ban list. We also have 3 Meltdown from the Invoke. So the deck is very consistent. It's one of the most consistent mid-range decks right now to play on the format, paired with Sinful Spoils that really extended the ceiling of the deck. It gave them some additional negations with the Sinful Spoils trap that can protect their Winda. On top of that, they have Mekaba as an Omni Negate. So the deck already has 1 to 2 negates with a very strong Floodgate monster on the form of Winda, and can also go second with the Deer Servant, pitching the Elder Entity. So I think it's one of the decks that you can play safely on the format, because the deck is consistent and it has a very legitimate win condition when going first. So I think I really regard this deck as one of the good decks here on the tier list. So yeah, at C we have Invoke Dogmatika Sinful Spoils. Moving on, we have Vanquish Shoal. So Vanquish Shoal also got support from the Duelist Nexus way back. So I think it really pushed the deck to be on the higher heights, because the new support made the deck more consistent, more resilient, and they now have better options to play. And I think Vanquishol is one of those decks that is very reliant on the skill level of the pilot. It really depends on the pilot of the deck. Because if Vanquishol is piloted by a very skilled player, very technical, very technically, mechanically sound player, I think this deck is one of the top decks on the format. I think I can rate this Vanquishol deck on the A tier or B tier on this regard, if that's the case. But if Vanquishol is piloted by a very subpar, lackluster, and not skilled player, not so skillful player, I think this deck is worse than Matmech or Mechango. I think that's how I see the Vanquishol. It really scales depending on the level of the pilot. So it's really hard to measure or consider this Vanquishol on this tier list, because it really depends for me, because the deck needs a lot of quality of the pilot to be able to perform at the highest levels. So yeah, it's really dependable on the level of the pilot. But nonetheless, I think Vanquishol is still strong. It can sport a lot of hand traps. It can play the Retaliating Sea. It can play the Ghost Bell. You do have additional effects with having Earth Monsters on their hand trap lineup, which is very good on the deck. And Ryzen is very strong, and the ROV is very strong as well. So yeah, I think it's just fair to see Vanquishol on the C tier here. And then moving on the B tier, we have the Centurion. So the latest addition on this metagame tier list that is introduced by DBVS or Valiant Smashers with the form of Centurion. So Centurion is one of the most hyped decks from the OCG, because Centurion can have access very consistently with the Calamity, which is a very controversial card right now in the format. Many players want Calamity to be banned, and I really don't know how Centurion will perform if Calamity will get banned on the future ban list. We do have an upcoming ban list this September, 3rd week I assume, yeah, for the October ban list. So I don't know how Centurion will really adapt when Calamity will get banned on the future formats. But I think this is a very powerful, very toxic deck at that extent as well, because Calamity is auto-win card, to be honest. Let's just be honest here. Calamity is a broken card, a very toxic one. So Centurion can easily release that monster or summon that monster on the opponent's turn. So yeah, this deck is very strong on that regard. The moment that they can summon Calamity is almost instant win against them. And also, this deck is not a lone deck. It has corporations. We do have the Centurion Horus that can give them so much ceiling to the deck. They gain so much value from the Coach King. They also have good protection for their board that can be supplemented by Photon Lord and Harbinger. So yeah, Centurion is one of those decks that are going to be better, because this is just the initial release of the Centurion. The deck will get more support. So I really predict that this deck will go higher, but I'm just unsure on how the deck will perform without Calamity. But for now, we do have Calamity, so I think it's safe to assume that Centurion will go even higher, because the deck is not solved yet. We do have different deck lists or different approach to the deck on the early release of this deck. This 4th week of August, many players are playing Centurion Dogmatica, Centurion Horus, and even Centurion Bestial. So there's a lot of variations of the deck, and the deck is not solved yet. I think if the players will innovate and create a standard deck list that is very functional, very rational to play, I think Centurion will go even higher from this. And I do even predict that this deck will go into a tier 0 status on the later stages, because the deck is just too good for me. I think this is one of the strongest decks that are recently released, aside from the tier 11s, of course. So yeah, we have Centurion here on B tier. And the next we have Branded. So Branded is kinda losing on popularity, you know. Branded has been going down ever since the introduction of Horus, the introduction of Sinful Spoils, Branded is occasionally going down on the tier list. Because before, Branded is even graded as an S tier or a solid A tier deck, but now they're just hanging by the thread on the B tier. So yeah, I think Branded got a little power creep from the recent release of the Sinful Spoils and Centurion and Horus. So yeah, I think Branded is still decently strong. It is a very potent mid-range deck. Can go first with the powerful board of Mirror Jade, Gignol, and those fusion branded monsters and whatnot. And can also go second with the Deer Servant and fusion deployment. So yeah, I think Branded is still very strong, but it's not that strong that like they used to be. Yeah, I think that's the case for Branded. But I think Branded is still very relevant. I think if you don't respect Branded, you will be very hardly punished by the Branded players. So they also have the Branded Expulsion on their disposal, and they can really catch people off guard with the Branded Expulsion combo from the Branded. But yeah, at B tier we have Branded, and then next we have Labyrinth here on the B tier. This deck is also losing traction. This deck used to be an S tier deck, used to be an solid A tier deck, but now they're just a B tier deck. Because other decks got better than them. We do have tier elements that is buffed by the Visas. We do have Horus decks. We do have the Sinful Spoils decks like Rescue Ace. So yeah, Labyrinth also kinda got power creep, to be honest. Many people have thought that the release of Arias on Labyrinth will really broke this deck, will really make the deck tier 0. But I really didn't expect that it is that underwhelming, because even Arias is released, many Labyrinth players chose to play the Unchained Labyrinth and the Furniture Labyrinth, the usual Labyrinth, so they don't really regard Arias as one of the cards to play on the Labyrinth strategy. So yeah, I think it's really hard to tell if Arias really helped Labyrinth on the release. But yeah, I think Labyrinth is still solid, a very powerful control deck that can control the tempo of the game. Even though the deck has a very weak turn 1, I think the turn 1 of this deck is kinda subpar. But the mid to late game of this deck is very insane, very extremely powerful. It can really snowball out of control when you don't have answers to this deck on the first turns. And if you don't close out Labyrinth early, I think you will definitely lose against this deck, because the grind game of this deck is very strong. It can plus cards for advantages, really strong on the mid to late game. So yeah, I think Labyrinth is one of those decks that are very powerful on the later stages. But on B tier we have Labyrinth, and then next, moving on the A tier we have Horus. I would just assume that this is Horus Orcus. Yeah, I think that's the most popular version of Horus deck right now in the format, because Orcus really gains advantages from the discard mechanics of Horus, because you discard so much with the Horus, you gain value when discarding Orcus cards, because they do have effects on the graveyard. Paired with Sinful Spoils, it is very strong right now. I think this deck can go first, set up multiple negations with the Crescendo and the Galatea board from the Orcus, and it can bring out as well the Photon Lord and Harbinger, and also have the additional negation from the Sinful Spoils. I think it's one of the most good decks that are, it's one of the better decks that you can play on the format. And I think this deck will go even higher if players will really play this deck, because the deck is very potent. It can set up negations, like I have said, it can set up to 3 negations on the first turn, and it can go second as well with the Dingirisu and the rank 8 toolbox of the Horus. It can push for damage using the huge attack monsters of rank 8 monsters like Harbinger and even Reglubion. So yeah, I think this is a very powerful deck that can go first, go second, and I think it's one of the decks that are destined for success, because Horus is a very insane engine for those discard decks. We do have Orcus, we do have Tri Brigade, those decks that gets value from discarding. Horus really supplemented and uplifted those decks on the format with the introduction of Horus. So yeah, it's very powerful, no? Horus really made an instant impact from their release on the format. But yeah, I think this deck is really rated as an 8-tier deck right now, and I would just agree with that as well. And then next we have Runic. So as long as players doesn't side deck Cosmic Cyclone, I think Runic will continue to perform because they don't really respect Runic. I also have said that many times already, couple of times already on my previous videos, that players doesn't respect Runic enough, because this deck is one of the annoying decks or pesky decks that are very taken for granted, because we just assume that Runic is just a cancerous deck that can deck out, that can stall for time. Those type of unconventional winning strategies or winning conditions really made Runic have a bad figure towards the community. So yeah, I think many players really take for granted Runic on the metagame right now. But as long as you win, to be honest, using Runic, it doesn't matter, no? As long as you win, you get your objective of winning on the game. I think that's just respectable enough to play Runic. And you need to respect Runic on that similar fashion, because the deck can deck out you with the fill spell going +3 all the time and decking you out, banishing your cards on the top of the deck and losing your key cards to supplement your combo in a line of plays. I think that's one of the things that Runic can really turn into something like a devastating deck that can really deck you out, and you don't have counter plays to that, to be honest, especially when you don't run back row hate or Cosmic Cyclones, when you cannot out the field spell of Runic and they rely on powerful floodgates on their disposal like Rivalry. There can be only one goes in match. What are you gonna do, no? You don't have any counter plays on that, especially if you cannot play through their back row. So yeah, I think if you want to tone down Runic on this tier list, players need to adapt and just have respect, some little respect for Runic. And I think this deck will struggle when players are adapting on playing Cosmic Cyclone on their side deck and other back row hates like Evilly Match, because now they're just playing Lightning Storm and HFD. So Runic can really instigate that with the protection from destruction using the Runic extra deck monster. So yeah, I think Runic is a very plausible 8-tier deck here. And then moving on the S tier, we have Sinful Spoils Rescue Ace. So I really don't agree that Tier Elements and Purely is better than Sinful Spoils Rescue Ace, because out of all the decks here, I think Sinful Spoils Rescue Ace is the most consistent one. And when you are looking for a competitive success, I think consistency is the number one factor to consider on what deck to play, because consistency is the key to victory on most occasions, especially on a tabletop game. I think Sinful Spoils Rescue Ace is the most consistent to play out of all these and can really dominate decks on the format, especially when you look onto the results of the Road of the King metagame charts. Rescue Ace has a lot of percentage on that pie chart. So yeah, I think it's really unjust to say that Tier Elements and Purely is stronger than Sinful Spoils Rescue Ace. But yeah, I think I really respect that, because many players are targeting Rescue Ace now. They do have targets on their back. Many players are prepared. They know how the deck works. They know how to choke the Rescue Ace. So yeah, that's one of the things that you should consider when playing the best deck on the format, or arguable best deck on the format, because you do have a lot of targets on your back. You will be easily targeted on the side deck. You can really struggle when it comes to game 2 and 3. So yeah, I think it's one of the things that you should really be careful about when playing Rescue Ace Sinful Spoils. But the thing with Rescue Ace Sinful Spoils is it is a very consistent deck, like I have said, with the Turbulence that can set for. They do have a lot of card advantages from the moment that they resolve Turbulence. Paired with Sinful Spoils, it made the deck more consistent than ever. And Sinful Spoils as well can elevate the ceiling of the deck. It can give a passage or gateway for Rescue Ace to be able to synchro summon, synchro towards the synchro line of plays. If they have Savage, if they have Dragster, if they have something like Barone, I think it's one of the most terrifying decks out here with the interruptions from the Contain and Extinguish, and it also has negations from the Savage and Dragster and Barone. And even if they don't play the synchro line of play, they can also go with the SP Little Knight route that can dodge Imperm and Veiler to protect their Turbulence. They can just use the SP Little Knight to banish their Turbulence, and it will return for the next turn. So yeah, I think Rescue Ace is a very interesting deck. I think it's really divided into Synchro build and into SP Little Knight and Link build. But I would prefer to play SP Little Knight build because resolving Turbulence is the most notable and important thing for me on the Rescue Ace, rather than just comboing off from the Rescue Ace monsters. So yeah, at S tier we have Sinful Spoils Rescue Ace, and then moving on we have Tearlaments. So I think players regard Tearlaments as a better deck than Rescue Ace Sinful Spoils is because the Tearlaments is very unpredictable. You really don't know what will hit you when playing against Tearlaments. It's like a box of chocolates, and you won't know what you will get on that box. That's just a reference from the Forrest Gump movie. But yeah, that's how I see Tearlaments, because Tearlaments have a plethora and multitude of engines. Tearlaments has Visa's engine. Tearlaments has Adventurer. It can also incorporate Horus. It can also incorporate Kashtira. So yeah, I think it's really insane that Tearlaments can really incorporate a lot of things on the deck. It can also even have Shadal. So yeah, there's a lot of things to consider when playing against Tearlaments, because you really won't know what monsters and what cards will the Tearlaments will mill on their milling process. And also the end board of Tearlaments really varies a lot. It varies a lot from different engines on the deck. So it's really unpredictable. It can be a very combo-ish. It can really go mid-range. It can also be very in a controlling manner. So yeah, I think Tearlaments is just a very random deck, to be honest. You won't know what to hit on the deck if you don't recognize what engine are they playing on the current phase. Yeah, that's how unpredictable Tearlaments is. And also Tearlaments can be very strong when the format is still very what do you call this, very diverse, because Tearlaments has a lot of tools on the deck. If they play Adventure, they do have Draco Bank to out problematic floodgates. If they play the Visas, they have links that can link climb faster and can go into SP Little Knight or something to break boards. So yeah, I think it's one of the better traits of Tearlaments now, to be able to adapt, to be able to do some really unpredictable stuff. I think it's one of the things that pushes Tearlaments on this S tier. So at S tier we have Tearlaments, and then moving on we have the last deck here on this tier list. We have Purely. So I really don't agree that Purely is stronger than Tearlaments and Rescue Ace, but Purely is Purely. It can set up the Expurlinor. If you don't have XYZ Encore, if you don't have Kaijus, if you don't have Kurikara, if you don't have the Herald of the Abyss, you will definitely struggle against Purely. And Purely is arguably the best turn 1 deck right now on this tier list, because Expurlinor is very potent. It's a very phenomenal card on Purely, and it can instantly win you games when you are successful on bringing out Expurlinor. Most decks here doesn't have counterfeits on the defeating of Expurlinor. So yeah, I think Purely is just here. It's just very justified here on S tier. I just don't agree that this is stronger than Rescue Ace and Tearlaments. But Purely has been very successful. It won the Japan Championship 2023 tournament with Akira Hasegawa. It also won the Duelist Cup main event with the pilot from Taiwan. I assume it's Lin. Yeah. So Purely is one of the successful decks to play, and it is very proven on the bigger stages. So yeah, I think that is the factor why players are going into purely, because the deck is really cemented as one of the good decks to play on the bigger tournaments. So yeah, I think they are just very reliant on the success rate of purely. So yeah, I would just like to include decks here on the D tier, something like Dragon Link. Yeah, Dragon Link and even Unchained on the D tier. And on C tier, I would adjust the Vanquisholo towards the B tier. And in this B tier, I would like to put Centurion on A tier. That's the adjustments that I would make if I'm going to create this tier list. And of course, Rescue Ace as the best deck on the S tier. So yeah, thank you for watching this video. I hope you do learn a thing or two. And hit the subscription button if you're not yet. Subscribe on my YouTube channel and hit the notification bell if you want to get more updated on my
fighting ways to get away, to see you again, see you again.